How I made a game in 1 month and launched it on Steam. It's called Battle Babes. It launches on the 19th of February. The first thing you need to do is decide what kind of game you're interested in making. Keep it small. Don't aim for like the latest and greatest Dragon MMO. Maybe do something like a mini game or something with very satisfying mechanics. Like, focus on getting a good gameplay loop and then go from there. The more story and the more like features like online play, things like that, the more complicated it's going to get and the harder it's going to be to release a finished product, especially if you're working by yourself. Like, you don't want to be 2 weeks in and then realize, actually, you know what, this is going to require 8 more people and another year of development. So keep it small, keep it simple, just focus on getting a game out and finished. So using me as an example, I really wanted to show off all these beautiful images I've got from my publishing career on the Kindle. So all of these are like cover photos and cover models and promotional images. They were so good and I had so many of them. I was like, how can I show all these off? And that's when I came up with the idea to create a trading card game for them. So I used to love, as a kid, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! There was a football one as well for the Premier League. I really enjoyed getting packs, unlocking them, and then battling my friends. So I wanted to bring that to life with these Battle Babes that you're seeing now on Steam. And I can't believe it's actually on Steam, ready to go live now. It's just mind-blowing to me. Like, I've always had Steam on my computer ever since I was a kid, and to finally have my game up on there, it's really satisfying, really rewarding, and I feel like I've completed a goal I've had since I was a kid. Once you've decided what kind of game you want to make, you've got a few options you can do now. You can pick an editor or a game development engine that works for you. The popular ones are Unreal and Unity. There are some other ones like Godot and whatever. You're going to have to search yourself if you want something more niche than them. For me, I was looking for a way to skip the coding grind, because coding is very, very hard. I've got some experience in web design. I made a game called Pizza Presser, which was very similar to Cookie Clicker. And I thought, okay, this time I want it to be on Steam. I want it to be proper multiplayer. And I want it to be more official than just a website. So here we go. Battle Babes was born. I went with Unity because I was scrolling through the asset store and I found something called Trading Card Game Engine. What this essentially does is I pay £50 and I get a template of a working game. So let's say on Unity, you load it up, half of it is like pre-coded for you. So all I needed to do was adjust the game rules so I can make the game I want. I needed to add all my art, the sound effects, the servers, all that stuff, all the things that make the game your game. But it just meant I could skip that painful like 6 months to 1 year process of actually coding the prototype. So my main thing was I want to show off this beautiful art. If I can skip 6 months by just buying a package for £50, I'll do it. I found something with really, really good documentation. There was YouTube tutorials to follow along. So it's just what ended up working for me. Depending on what kind of game you're trying to make, this might not be an option for you. So partner up with people if you don't know how to code, or head off on that journey where you do actually learn to code and go through that process yourself. Once I got the engine installed, it took a couple of days to figure out Unity. My cloud servers or whatever weren't speaking to each other. I tried making a Unity project 7 years ago that was still on my PC, which was conflicting with my other PC. So it actually took me like 2 or 3 days to actually get the template started. So already I was like, oh my God, what have I got myself into here? This is going to be painful, I can tell. And yeah, it was painful, but it was incredibly rewarding. I've learned so many valuable skills in the month I was cramming in doing all this. And I wouldn't change anything because, like I say, the knowledge I've come away with is much... Like, I'd rather suffer for a month and now I've got this knowledge, so next time I try and do it a couple of years from now, it'll be much smoother. And that's why I'm kind of like at this stage now where I can kind of put a game together myself and launch it, because I've been publishing content online for 10 years now. So I learned how to make websites, I learned how to write copy, I learned how to make graphics slowly over this 10 years. For my coding experience, like I've been good with websites in the past. So when I was like trying to decompile this code, it sort of made sense because my brain could work a little bit of code, but I was learning C#, which is the language Unity uses to create games. So that was a big learning process for me, but here we are. I feel much more comfortable now. And no matter what, if you want to make a game, you're going to have to learn something and you're going to get stuck and you're going to have to overcome a hurdle. This is where you've just got to really dig deep, work harder than everyone else. Like in the past, I've tried games and I've given up because there was a challenge that I couldn't overcome. This time, I was just ruthless with myself. I was like, just do it. Stare at the problem until it's done. Stop giving up. Stop being a pussy at the end of the day. And here we are. The game's finished, and adopting this like ruthless mindset with myself was essential to actually getting the game out, because every single day there was a moment where I wanted to quit. Like the coding was too hard, or the graphics weren't lining up the way I was trying to get them to line up. Sometimes you're just not inspired. You've been grafting for 2 weeks. You're just bored. You're mentally exhausted. You want to just go out, play football or play a game or just do something different. But if you want to finish a game in 1 month, you've just got to sit down and do it. And that's what I did. So once I got my Unity template installed, then it was time to start like putting everything in. So I've got experience with graphic design. I don't use Photoshop. I use GIMP. It's just a free version of Photoshop. I've used ChatGPT to generate everything I need. So borders, effects, images, like anything that's required, I've done that. In the past, when I've been like getting cover models and art for my books, it's just been a nightmare with the licensing fees and things like that. So AI art has changed the game. Not even AI art itself, like even coding. Like someone like me who's got very little experience coding, I can smartly copy and paste it all into ChatGPT, and A, it teaches me so I get better for next time, and B, it can write eligible code that just seems to work. Like I'm in way over my head, but I'm just really good at slotting all these jigsaw pieces together. Like when the fundamentals are boiled down, coding is very, very difficult. Network code, server code, it's all insanely hard. Databases, APIs, like all these things I've had to learn. As like even with YouTube documentation and tutorials and guides and the power of the internet, it's still been extremely difficult. But ChatGPT has started saving the day recently, especially with the server-side code. I am like completely new to server-side, so getting used to microtransactions with Steam, connecting and integrating Steam, setting up HTTPS on servers, like all of this, I've had to learn from scratch this month. So ChatGPT has been explaining like I'm 5, holding my hand through the process, and then I've been going on the Discord asking the developer of the template for help as well. So you've just got to use all your resources available to you, and sometimes at the end of the day, you just need to park yourself in front of your PC, stare at the problem for an hour, and like just say to yourself, we're not leaving until this problem's done. So figure it out, or you're going to be stuck here for 2 hours. In the past, there is no way I would have had this like ruthless mindset. Like I'm 28 now, and as I'm getting older, the more ruthless I'm getting with my time, my strategy to things. Like I'm just more dialed in the older I get. When I was trying to make games 10 years ago, I'd be like 5 minutes into a problem and then I'd be like, no, I'm done. I'm spent for the day. Whereas now I can just sit there and monotonously grind through the code, the problem, the art. Like I added 100 cards in like the first week. So doing all the art for that, doing all the borders, the effects, and just everything for the game was like the first 2 weeks, it went from looking like a grey like template to the pretty game you see now. All the art was done. The fire deck, nature deck, water deck was finished. Like it looks as pretty as it looks now. Then for the last 2 weeks, it's been launching on Steam, making the graphics for your Steam page, your Patreon, your Kickstarter. Then it was trying to set up online play, connecting the servers, connecting HTTPS to the servers, getting your APIs and your databases working. That has been the biggest struggle for me. Like, as someone with no experience in any of that, it has been absolutely exhausting. But we're at the end of the tunnel now. Like, I'm trying a Kickstarter where I just want to make cards. So you can actually pay money on my Kickstarter or my Patreon. We'll work together to come up with a name and a design for your card, and then we'll publish it in game. So you can literally play with it. You can find it in card packs. Other people can battle with it. It's like your implementation into the game. So it's very special to you. But eventually, I'd love to figure out how these microtransactions work, speaking and connecting to Steam, and being safe with client information over like the internet is like, especially when you're dealing with microtransactions and inventories, you've got to do it right. So I'm not rushing into it. I'm learning everything. I'm taking my time with it. So there's not a problem a month from now. You know what I mean? I will say your Steam page and your Kickstarter and your Patreon, all that is going to take longer than you think it's going to take, especially your Steam page. Like, it's not easy launching a Steam page. So I've got a lot of experience on social media. I've been launching Kindle books through KDP for 10 years. I've launched websites, blah, blah, blah. I've got experience publishing on the net, but Steam is a completely different ball game. You have to pay £100 to get in. So already, like, you're committing, you're putting skin in the game. Then you've got to create all the different assets. You've got to digest the Steamworks documentation. You've got to follow all the rules and put everything in the right place so your Steam page actually passes review. My Steam page failed twice because I put something in the wrong box and then I didn't make one of my logos transparent. So once you send it in, it takes 3 days for them to process it. Then if it gets rejected, you've got to make the changes and send it in again. Then it takes another 3 days to process. So make sure you've got everything right if you want a speedy launch. If you want to launch within 1 month, you have to make the payment a month before the day you want to launch. So Steam will only launch your game if you've been in their like ecosystem for 1 month. So if you want to launch a fast game like I did, my main thing was, I know what I'm like, I know what kind of person I'm like. If I don't get this game out in a month or two, I'll fizzle out and it won't get released. So it needed to be quick and it needed to be relatively cheap. So £100, that'll do. A server, 50 quid, template, 50 quid. I don't want to spend any more than that without knowing it's going to make money in the future. So 200 quid commitment has got me this far and it's worked. We've got a working product. Kickstarter's launched. I'm happy with what's happening. Your Steam page, when you launch a game, also has to say coming soon for 2 weeks. So you need to plan accordingly. So let's say you want to launch a game in 1 month. You need to like pay the direct deposit fee now. And then within 2 weeks, you need to like submit your Steam page for review. So then you can set it to like coming soon for 2 weeks. Read the Steamworks documentation. You're going to be in there for a while. If you want to connect like Steam features and integrate Steam properly, you're really going to have to dive down to the nitty-gritty details in the documentation. Good luck with it. It's very difficult. At the end of the day, you just got to sit there for a couple of hours and digest it. It's painful, it's hard, but if you want to make a Steam game, this is what's required. I would say, I'm not even going to say anything because I'll just slag off Steam, but it's not very friendly for developers that are new to this whole thing. Like, I'm pretty tech savvy and it's been extremely difficult. So there's no way a grandma, like my grandma, could launch this game if she wanted to. It's just the documentation, the tutorials, the old videos, the lack of help is just crazy. But I don't know, you've got to just dig deep and figure out problems along the way when you're making a game. I've not had anything in my life, like a mental task, that's been harder than making this game. So there's just so many pieces that go together. Like whenever I'm going to make a book or a video in the future now, it feels like there's nothing that goes into it, because in order to launch a game, you've got to like basically make a book and make a video as like a precursor to even making the game. So it's just been a huge challenge. Know what you're getting yourself into and start small, start slow. Once your Steam page is live, you can start marketing, connecting with people on social media, set up your Kickstarter, set up your Patreon, Start bringing playtesters in so you can get Steam keys generated, send them out if you're making a paid game. My main thing with Battle Babes was I wanted it to be free to play and I wanted people to be multiplayer. They can fight each other whenever they want. So that comes with its own set of hurdles because I've got to pay for servers, or I've got to get in-game monetization working to pay for them servers, or rely on Kickstarter, or just bleed my own funds. But it's the vision I had for the game. Like, I don't want to create a paid game. I wanted it to be free to play so anyone could play it. So it's up to you what game you want to make. I would recommend making a cheap paid game first. Don't go this free to play route I've gone, because I feel like I've added 2 weeks of stress trying to connect these microtransactions that I just really didn't need. Like, I should have just released a game for like a $5 or a $10, and then, well, I think the best shout would have been releasing the game for a $10, and then you can like charge discounts for, you can do a launch discount, you can do Christmas discounts, summer discounts, blah, blah, blah. So that's what I would have done, but I've committed now, it's too late. Once I said free to play, that was it, I'm committed. For the sound effects, you can either get creative with your mic and create your own. You can find free asset packs on Unity, Asset Store. You can make your own. I went with something really simple. Like, I wanted like a background noise, like birds, nature, a running water. So that's what I went with. I want to add more ways to customize it in the future. So let's say you pick the fire deck. I want it to go to like a campfire noise, but all these features, like when you're making a game, you sat there and it's like, oh, this will be good, this will be good, this will be good. But then when reality strikes, it's like, oh, you've got to code that and you've got to know how to code it and you've got to make sure you don't break anything when you do it. It's just really, really hard. Like, I wish I could just think of something and Unity would just know how to do it, but we're not at that level with AI yet. But hey ho, the future is looking crazy. Hopefully we can have something as magical as that. I've waffled long enough now, but I've dumped what I need to dump in there. Making a game is very hard. You've just got to dig down and do it. There's no easy way getting about it. Just dig deep. I believe in you. Believe in yourself. You can do it. Battle Babes launches on the 19th. Check out my Kickstarter. I'm going to keep releasing game dev logs and just ranting into the mic like I'm doing here when I feel like I've got something to say. I do want to make more hands-on tutorials, like actually showing you the process of launching on Steam rather than this like gameplay overlay, but that'll come with time. What other videos do you want to see? What common questions do need answering? Blah, blah, blah. I'm just going down the popular game dev videos on YouTube and I'm thinking, I can make a video on that. Like, oh, I've got something to say on that. So, love you all. Hasta la vista. Peace.